One of the things I wanted to start doing is sharing some of my favorite prayers that mean something to me, that I've collected over the years, or that I've started using over the years, that seem to really make a greater difference, or hit the nail on the head, so to speak. I've got this little 5-part prayer that I use. I kind of came up with it on my own after hearing lessons on different topics about prayer. These are the 5 things. I say, Lord, help me to be your man, doing your will in your way, with your timing and your attitude. I want to be your man, doing your will in your way, with your timing and your attitude. You know, Moses had it all right except the timing. He was off. He was off 40 years. He was ready to lead the Israelites out of Egypt 40 years before God was ready to accomplish that miraculous event. And Jonah had it all right, but the attitude, you know, he finally went and preached in Nineveh, where God was sending him, and when the people repented, God forgave him, and that made Jonah mad. That's why he didn't want to go in the first place, because he knew God was a loving and forgiving God, and he would forgive them. And these Ninevites were evil and had attacked Israel, northern Israel, for years, and so he was reluctant to go because he didn't like them. In fact, he was so prejudiced against Nineveh that when God forgave him, he was so mad, he said, just kill me. I'd rather be dead than alive in a world with forgiven Ninevites, because they deserve to die. Just kill me. So he didn't have his attitude right. So if I'm praying regularly that I'll be God's man, meaning I'm in covenant with God, I'm loyal to God, doing God's will, that means I'm reading his will and praying about his will and dedicating myself to try to accomplish his will. So God's man, doing God's will in God's way. You know, Jesus came full of grace and truth. You can't have one without the other. If I give you truth and tell you you're going to hell unless you change, you're not going to change. But if I just give you all this grace and no truth, I haven't helped you get to heaven. So you got to have grace and truth in God's way. That's God's way, grace and truth. So I want to be God's man, doing God's will in God's way, with God's timing. His timing is always perfect. And God's attitude. His attitude is an attitude of love and forgiveness and acceptance, no matter what we've done. And if I'm right in those 5 areas, I'm headed in the right direction. I may not be perfect. I may still make mistakes. But if I'm trying to be God's man in God's will, doing God's way, with God's timing and God's attitude, then it's a good start for the day. So I share that prayer with you, and I hope it blesses you. So keep praying. God's still on the throne, and prayer still works. Love you.